Okay, so we've learned about the scientists Galileo and Mary Anning, and we know that as scientists, they notice things and ask questions. And you are going to do an activity today that has you do just that, noticing and asking questions. So I'd like for you to have your science notebook with you and a pencil, and I'd like for it to be open to the page where you traced your hand earlier. As you're watching the video, if there are directions on to do, like for you to do something on the paper, you're going to be doing it in your notebook. Okay, this video was originally planned for if we were face-to-face and we're not face-to-face, so we have to make a few slight changes. So one is you're going to be working by yourself, and the other is you're going to be doing it in your notebook and not on the worksheet. All right, so if you have your notebook and your pencil, then you're ready to get started. Like I said, as they give directions in the video, I'd like for you to do that in your notebook, please.
In today's activity, you're going to train your brain to observe, wonder, and ask questions, just like a scientist does. Galileo and Mary Anning made drawings of their discoveries, not just because drawing is fun, but also because it helps focus your brain. So today, you'll be drawing and observing something that you see every day to find out if you can discover something new or surprising about that thing. As you draw, your challenge is to come up with as many questions as you can. I'll show you how to get started, step by step.
So your supplies should be your science.
Depending if you're in a younger grade or an older grade, you'll use a different handout.
You don't have the handout, please use what you traced in your notebook.
You can do today's activity.
We've already done this.
Look at your hand closely. Carefully look at the top and bottom. Then bend your fingers and watch how they move. Now, help your brain focus by drawing. It's tempting to make your drawing really perfect or pretty, but don't worry about that. The goal is to observe your hand closely and think of questions you might have. Everyone, put your hand down in the middle of your wonder page. Then, trace the outline of your hand like this. You'll draw more details in a minute, but first, think of at least one question that you wonder about your hand. Older students, write this question on your wonder page. Younger students, share your questions with your teacher. They'll write these questions on the board. In case it's helpful, questions usually start with words like why, how, or what.
All right, in this activity, you are considered one of the older grades, and so I would like for you to write your question. So you have your hand traced on your notebook page, and then there should be room for you to write one question on your notebook paper. At any time, if you need to press pause to make sure that you stay keeping up, you can do that with the video at any time. Then once you complete the task, you can press play and continue the video.
You're going to be coming up with lots more questions. So here's a little tip. To help keep track of all the questions that you come up with, use an arrow to connect your question to the part of your drawing that it has to do with. For example, if you have a question about your thumb, draw an arrow between your thumb and your question. Now, for younger students, since you're not writing out the whole question, now here's the really fun part. Look at all of your fingers really closely. Notice all those lines, bumps, circles, dots, any little details you can see. You're going to add those details now to your drawing. As you notice more details, you're going to start thinking of more questions. So, older students, write those questions down and use arrows. Younger students, you can just put a question mark.
Okay, at this point, I do want you to pause the video. And after you pause the video, I would like for you to do what it says. Look at all your fingers closely, add as many details as you can to your drawing. So please press pause and add as many details as you can. Once you have added all of the details, press play.
Sharing what you notice with other people can give you new ideas. Scientists do that all the time. So share your drawing with your partner. Then discuss these questions.
So you're not working with a partner per se, but if you wanted to share or have a discussion with another person in your house, you could pause the video and do that.
If you and your partner thought of even more questions, older students, write down the most interesting questions that you discussed. If you run out of space, you can use the back of your paper. Younger students, share your favorite questions with your teacher. They can write these questions on the board. You can add another question mark to your Wonder page for each new question that you come up with.
All right, so you are considered in the older grades. And so look at the video and look at that paper. Do you see how many questions are written? So you should have at least 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions and adding detail. So at this point, if you have not written any questions and you haven't written any detail, you aren't following directions. So please make sure that you press pause and you are writing your questions about what you notice about your hand.
Younger students, you can skip to step 13. Older students, now try zooming in even closer. Circle the part of your drawing that includes one fingernail. Connect a line from that circle to the magnifying glass. Then go to the next step.
Please follow those directions. Now, you don't have a magnifying glass. I didn't have you do that in our first drawing. So go ahead and draw a magnifying glass as well.
Look even more closely at this fingernail on your own hand. Then, draw your fingernail and fingertip in the magnifying glass. When you think of any questions, write them down and use arrows to connect your drawing to the question.
Please do that on your notebook paper.
How many questions have you been able to come up with? Count up all the questions on your page. Then write this number down in your curiosity counter.
You don't have a space on your notebook paper that says curiosity counter, but what I'd like for you to do is I would like for you to count how many questions, and then at the top of your notebook paper, write that number. So if you asked 11, at the top of your notebook paper, write the number 11 and circle it.
Now that you've come up with all these questions, it's time to think about which one are you most curious about? Choose one question that you think would be interesting to investigate in the future. Younger students, your teacher will give you another sheet of paper so that you can write down your favorite question. Older students, look at all the questions you already wrote and circle the one that you're most curious about.
Do that now, please.
Today, you drew something ordinary to help you observe closely and think of questions. I know that when I try this same thing, no matter what object I choose to draw, I'm always surprised by just how many questions I start having about that object. Thinking of questions is the first step to learning new things, the way a scientist does. Keep it up this year. Keep drawing and noticing interesting things. Check out the curiosity wheel that we link to in the extras. We think you'll find it's a good way to think of new things to explore and wonder about. Have fun and stay curious.
I'm not going to have you make a curiosity wheel, but there is another task for you to complete in Schoology. So please click Next to do the next task.